CRISP-DM describes the typical process phases of a project. It's divided into six parts: the business understanding, which defines the goals and the priorities of the project. Data understanding is the gathering and checking of the quality of the data. Data present preparation is the selecting and cleaning of the data. Um, Modeling is where we develop an appropriate model and a design for a test plan. Evaluation assesses the results of the model. The main question here is, does it meet the business requirements? Finally is deployment. That's the implementation of the model, and we monitor and document the performance of the model according to the business requirements that are done in the first step, business understanding. Time series analysis involves a specific way to analyze data points over a time interval. It shows how variables, which are non-stationary data, change over time. It usually requires a large data set, and it's a complicated system where there's data classifications of stock time as opposed to flow time. There's also variations within trends and seasonal type data. And then there's different analysis types: classification, descriptive, explanative, exploratory, and forecasting. So these models can be very complicated, and the time series itself has a lot of moving parts to it. Principles of data ethics can be put into two broad categories of data bias and then security and privacy. There can be a lot of problems with data bias, which can include how we collect the data, um, whether data is excluded, whether it's by error or by design. There can be measurement problems. That's how the data is observed. And those are all issues of developing a proper model. And that's one component of ethics. And then there's the privacy and security. Uh, Privacy deals with how the data is handled and stored, who has access to it, and security is what policies and software, how that is how we secure the data to make sure that nobody can get to it who shouldn't be getting to it. If I'm working in a company and there's a measurement bias that comes up, of a question about measurement bias that comes up, of course, I would go to my immediate supervisor first, and I would ask for a meeting to go through what I think are the problems that we have. Some of the common problems can be ensuring that devices and personnel are adequate to the task. How we collect the data is very important. Training the people to collect the data properly are all things where we can fall down, and I would imagine a lot of times processes can be improved in that area. Beyond that, more transparency of procedures, how we gather the data, the more people in the organization who are looking at it may have feedback about if there's a problem with collecting data. Are the people validating the data? Do they have the proper experience and training? Do they understand the project well enough? All of these can contribute to a problem with measurements. And then, of course, it may be that the problem isn't with those areas. It may be that we need to continuously review evaluate the process because things can change over time. Differences between regression and classification. Regression deals with measures and relationships between quantitative variables. So you have a relationship between the variables as they move along a line, where classification finds categories. So classification is taking entities and there's a predefined features, and so we classify them into groups based on those predefined features. So as opposed to the variables interacting with each other and moving along a line, classification is putting the the um, the features, the categories into specified